Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hyperconscious Podcast. Alan, what is hyperconscious?
Once you understand why something is the way that it is, now you have the power to change it. Great conversations with great people and great questions are the keys to the kingdom of unlocking your consciousness.
Every single action that you do starts as a thought. When you control the way you think, you will control the way you act, and you will control the way you live. That is hyperconscious. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. Today, Alan and I were lucky enough to sit down with Frederick Barnes, all the way from Florida. Frederick Barnes has a next-level Instagram page, as you can see there. He's a motion artist, so he takes pictures and gives them life. And when I came across his profile, I told Alan and I told my best friend Matt that they need to follow him. But also, I thought to myself, imagine what picking his brain would be like. And I think we were both super excited with the way it came out.
Yeah, we were. So we got to pull back the curtain on this Instagram page. So go to his page. He has amazing artwork. And we got to kind of dig into what made him him. He talked a lot about personal development. He shouted out a few books.
Yes, and he shared a couple super deep stories with us that, you know, if you guys are struggling, everybody has struggled, everybody will struggle. But like he says, you just got to keep going. You just got to keep working. You got to keep trying. And eventually you'll end up in a better place.
He mentioned a few things we always talk about. Failing forward, you're the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. He also mentioned that personal development never really fully exceeds, or income never exceeds personal development. Next level rep.
Yes, you guys get to peel back the curtain on this artist, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we did.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Geographically? Geographically. This is cool. So I would say make sure that pretty face is shown.
Yes, true.
They're going to want to see that thing. They're going to want to see that thing, Alan. That face. You good?
Ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. We have a guest that I found on Instagram. I said to Alan, I said to Matt, you guys need to follow this dude. His page is next fucking level. You guys both followed him, and I said, imagine if he could come on the podcast. We could pick his brain. Thoughts become things, and we are now sitting down with Mr. Frederick Barnes, all the way from Florida. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Staying dry.
Staying dry.
Thank you for having me, Kevin and Alan. It's great.
Absolutely, man. From the second I saw your page, and we were just talking about in the preamble about a little bit of our history, a little bit of our mentors. I told Frederick how much I aspired to be similar to Joe Rogan, and when I saw your page, I thought to myself, oh, that's somebody that Joe Rogan would have on for sure. And that was the only thing I needed to know. Like, I knew you have to be super talented to do what you do. You have to be super patient, and you have to be super good at visualizing what you want done. So while I brag about your page for you, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about what you do? Why am I talking about your page? What is your page?
Cool. So, my page is like a collection of, things I find cool. I mean, I kind of started this page out as just me playing around with like diving into the art field. Before I started this, I would never even consider myself an artist at all. But I started this page playing around with my own images, creating little surreal effects, maybe just making water move. But, as time went on, I started collaborating with like a lot of really unseen artists, I would say, on Instagram, and like a sector of Instagram I've never really seen before, and like kind of, started connecting with all these people, networking in this like little niche that I found, and creating really great content with them. And usually the theme that I try to stick to is surreal, but like I'm a big travel fan. Like I want to travel. Like I try to teach myself languages, had a lot of exchange student friends back in school, and like I try to incorporate that as well. Like it might be a real place, but when you'll stop and you'll look at it and you'll be like, whoa, is that real? Is like you'll question what you see. So at the same time, I want to make sure people like they don't ever lose that sense of imagination at the same time, and they might see a cool place, and they might get inspired to go do something. But my motivation behind it is just like continuously change as the page has grown. Like starting out, it was just me like just wanting to make myself look cool on my own Instagram.
Nothing wrong with that.
My purpose for it is completely different now. But yeah, I make surreal artwork.
So on your page, like under your name, it says "Perception creates reality." What does that mean to you?
What does that mean? So I actually think about this a lot. I came across this quote, and it just fit what I do with what I like create, and like the images that I work with and do, and the effects I do so perfectly. But to me, it's what you see and like what perspective you see something from can make it completely different. Maybe an example could be like a baby could look at a ball as like a little toy, but an NBA player might look at a ball as like a job, or like a means of making money, like making income. Right. I don't know. I just made that up on the spot, but you kind of get what I'm saying. But yeah, it's just like question what you see, and like, I mean, it really didn't have any huge meaning, but like I saw the quote and I was like, this fits. It just resonates with what my page is. And for me,
Frederick, I resonated a lot with what you just said. So, this is such a weird little story, but I was out on the dock. I live on a lake, and this was earlier this week. So this is interesting. It's coming to me now. I was looking at a hawk flying overhead, and I was looking at my home from the dock on the lake. And I remember thinking to myself randomly, I was like, I wonder what it looks like up there where that hawk is. And it's funny that I'm thinking of that now because I'm sitting here looking at your Instagram, which, by the way, everyone out there, while you're listening, if you're driving, don't do this. But if you're not, go to Frederick D. Barnes. That's FrederickD. Barnes, Barnes, and check out his page. I'm looking at the Statue of Liberty right now. It's cut in half, and it's basically the arm is up into the sky, and there's like sort of a hurricane brewing, and it's very, very, very cool. So Frederick, your work is awesome, and I just wanted to share that little hawk story with everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I get what you're saying though. Like from their perspective, like even a rat, like if you're looking at it, talking about a hawk, to them it's food, but to us it might be a pet. It's just like you just question what you see. Everything's different from every person's perspective. I don't know.
That's such a great point. So one of my good friends, Bianca, said this to me recently. She said, "Do you know?" She said, "Think about this," and I want you to think about this too, Frederick. That no two people see you the same. Like you might have 100 friends, and none of them have the same exact view of you as somebody else because you are somebody different to every single person that you meet. So your art is basically proving that. Like it's proving that what you're seeing here could mean anything to anybody. It could mean, liberty has been broken and it's gone. It could mean so many different things. And I've always like appreciated art like this because I want to know what you think. Like so the Statue of Liberty video, I'm sure you know which one we're talking about, right?
Yeah. I'm looking at it as well.
Spent 10, 15 hours on it or more. I don't know.
I'm sure you know.
I'm sure you've looked at it at least once.
So what does that mean like to you? Does that mean anything specific?
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, that one, a lot of my work, I work with other artists, though they submit things to me. Yeah. And I'm like, the hardest thing about my page is really collecting those ideas, those images, those collaborations that pop. Like I spend more time looking for the right people to work with, the right images to animate and incorporate and like assets to use than even creating the images itself. Like it's just like something that comes to me. Like if an image like invokes a feeling within me, I post it. I'm not even really worrying about anyone else's response. Like at this point of doing this for so long, I've kind of got a feel. Like I'll post something and I know this will work, and I know like I'll post something and I know if it won't work. But at the same time, if it's something that's like I feel like I might have a good quote for it, or the song's right, or just like it's good, it feels right for me, I'll post it. But for the most part, that one doesn't really have any significant meaning in my mind. I just thought it really looked cool, and I had like the post before it was kind of dark, and so I was like, okay, maybe the next one I can have a similar theme, and I've had this idea for a while, so that's what I worked on for that one.
It blows my mind, man. It blows my mind when you write the captions. I know I read a lot of your captions. One, I wasn't born to work, pay bills, and die. I'm a dreamer. All sorts of like super inspirational, super motivational things. Do you?
Yeah.
Is that something that you use in your life? Like, are you
Yeah.
Are you a dreamer?
Yeah, like me. So I wasn't really artist. I rarely even consider myself an artist to this day. I'm more so of a business person, I would say. And like in high school, like I grew up in Kansas, and then I moved to Florida. I was born in Florida, moved to Kansas, came back here like mid high school. And like growing up there, we weren't really. I wouldn't say I was exposed to like, I don't know, like the crowds that were like, you can make a lot of money. It was just like an average life. You live an average life, go to work. Everybody there was working on airplanes, making Boeings and stuff. And like, my parents were strict. Never even I couldn't even watch like Harry Potter and like play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh wow,
stuff like that. It was crazy.
Okay,
but then I come to Florida, and then I go to college and like I'm on my own. Completely like 4 hours away from family, living in dorm rooms, doing my own thing. In Boca Raton, it's a really wealthy, like one of the most wealthy like cities, I would say, in Florida, especially South Florida. But it's crazy to be like in a completely different change of environment. I was exposed to new things. Like the normal car you might see there is like a Ferrari. And in Kansas, I'll be seeing beat up rusty trucks all the time.
Yeah.
So it kind of like opened my mind up to a new world. And, during this time, I got into like trying to do business ventures with friends and marketing things. And, I started getting really into personal development, and reading books. Started reading more books about how to like successful people and their backgrounds and entrepreneurs, and more so than even, my textbooks. Like pretty much all I got of Alan was saying earlier, like he went to school and partied. Like that was my 4 years.
Yep.
Play video games and partied in my dorm rooms.
That was my experience. So we're very similar in that. I'm glad you're reading books, man. Keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, you're all good. But yeah, I went to school initially because I wanted to make video games, and I've always just been like an ambitious person. Like you tell me you show me the ropes and I'll just go for it. So before I even like first year being in college, I started making games, made a game with Nickelodeon, got paid for it. And I was like, okay, why am I going to school for this? I'm already being paid for what I'm doing. So I was like, okay, let me make a game studio. What do I need for that? I need business skills. And, I changed my major, hopped into international business. And then I got involved with like investments, learning how to invest and start businesses and stuff like that. And I started something in the dorm rooms. And, I was exposed to all these people my age. Like I'm 23 now, but at the time, like kids my age driving Ferraris and things like that from businesses that they started in at 19, 20, plus. And, surrounding myself with those type of people changed my mindset completely. Like in the books that I would read, seminars I'd go to, and like I started spending more money on books than I did like on alcohol and partying at the time.
Yes.
So like all of the quotes you see, like they all come from just useful things that I've built, or just things I've come across in life, and things that have helped me, or things that like at the same time I try to pair them with whatever piece it is. Like that's something recently I've been trying to pair music and but quotes and wording, that's like always something I've just tried to pair with it. But it's all just come from like my past and like what's led up to this point. So
Frederick, very impressed right now, man. That's awesome. So you are in college, you're around a lot of different people. You're kind of taking a very, I shouldn't say different path, because there's a lot of people that are entrepreneurial in college these days, but it's definitely the minority. Huh?
I could keep going with that story because I'm not in college anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you said you were 23, so you've been out of college for a couple years, but I was going to segue into this. So you started a business. So first of all, you're onto something, man. There's so many people. I'm looking through your Instagram posts. There's so many people that tag people. When Kevin first showed me your page, it was the 4th of July. We were up looking at fireworks on like a deck at Matt Ryan's house, and he showed me your page, and I immediately followed you. And I knew that I was going to continue following you because when I'm scrolling through my feed, I'm always looking for value, and your images just like take me to a different place for a minute, which I think people really need that right now. So, and I think the fact that you're so viral, like you mentioned a book called Outliers. I'm sure you've read The Tipping Point and a bunch of different books. By the way, I recommend a book called Contagion, but I think you're onto something here, man. So you've grown your Instagram from like, I think you said, Kevin, 40K to 80K in like the last year, right?
Well, I started this July of last year. So from July, I guess it would be like 1 year and 4 or 5 months now that I started this, and at 90K as of today.
Let me tell you, Frederick, that's not how my Instagram page worked at all. I've had it for like 5 years, and I just got to 1,000. Woo-hoo-hoo!
So you are crushing it, Frederick. Like from a business mind type of standpoint, you're absolutely crushing it. One of the things I wanted to talk to you.
I see it's working.
It's definitely
and
working.
I see like I'm starting to get, like you mentioned before the call, like you would get, people might email you and say like how it's kind of like changed your life. Like only recently, I would say within the past month, actually, like I start to see comments sometimes or DMs in the inbox, which like now I used to respond to everyone. I really can't. Like it's almost impossible now. But people say like, hey, I've had PTSD and this has like really helped me a lot. And like stuff like that. It's crazy to me to even see someone say that about something like that I kind of did for fun starting out.
Amazing.
So.
I wrote a post today. It said the effect we have on others is the most valuable currency we have. One of the things that I wanted to mention to the listeners, you also start a business where basically you take products, the images for companies that of their products, their marketing, digital marketing, and then you take those images and you offer a service where you make those images, what in your verbiage you say, come alive. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into that and like how that's going?
Well, I guess that's something I've been doing, like just start like throughout, like companies will reach out to me starting out. Initially just artists would reach out. I remember my first ever person reaching out was this lady named Juju, and she posted it in the Huffington Post, reached out to her about it. And like that first confirmation was like, okay, maybe I'm onto something. And I kept posting and kept doing this every day, but companies will reach out to me and they'll say like, hey, can you bring our product to life? Stuff like that. Like I will do it, because at the moment I still want to pay off and make money and things like that. But, it's not something that like I enjoy doing the most, but I do create cool content for companies if they're interested. They reach out. I have a photographer here. She helps me. But that's something I do as well.
I have an interesting question. I don't know if you've ever thought of this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So you moving to Florida kind of opened up your eyes to all sorts of different availabilities, and you figured out like, oh, this is real. Like I could actually be one of these people. Have you ever thought like what would happen if you stayed in Kansas?
I definitely compare myself to because like I was there earlier. A friend just got married. I already had 3 kids. I'd probably be like looking back at all my friends there. They're either married, or just like working and being miserable. Doing the same thing they were doing or their family were doing. Like I'm a firm believer. Like you are who you surround yourself with.
Oh, for sure.
You're the average of your 5 closest friends. Like that was a big thing that like really changed my mindset. So yeah, I'd probably be like the people around me in that environment. But, even growing up then, I was still kind of ambitious. Me and buddies in my neighborhood, we would go mow lawns, stuff like that. So, who knows? I'm not one to say, like, I don't really look back on the past, but I don't know. I think it's just something that was instilled in me to just always be looking for ways to, like, because I remember back then I even traded Bitcoin, but, if looking back at it, I don't know where that computer is, so I could probably be a millionaire by now. But like,
You got to find that computer.
I beat
Frederick.
myself up about it, actually, to be honest, a lot.
I went to a tech school, man. Back in 2011 and 2010, we were mining Bitcoin, and I'm telling you, man, if we still had that.
I know. Yeah, don't even get me started.
Right? Dude, we could talk for an hour and a half about missed opportunities, but we're going to talk about new opportunities. So you said the quote that we talk about on this podcast constantly. Every listener is probably like, here we go again with this quote. You are the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Who?
Oh, you say that often?
All the time,
all
man.
the time.
All the time. We
Well,
live
they
by
need to
that.
know that it's facts. They need to know.
It's a fact. It's a law. It's like gravity. But anyways, so what kind of people do you aspire to be around now?
Who do I aspire to be around now? Really, anybody who's an asset to my life, where I can bring value to them. Like now that I'm kind of in Tampa at the moment, I've been like locally in my area, reaching out to local businesses, hotels, dealerships, things like that. I just started a drone business as well, but offering them things to do where I can exchange my services for either cool stays at hotels, free entrance into places. Like I'm just trying to build things around me, that can help me, and then I can help them, and please grow something great. But like really long term, I want to bring a company public, and at the moment, this is something the art page is a means to whatever that may be, and like it's connecting me to a lot of really cool people. So like really, if I connect with a person, like they can be around me, but I'm not really searching at the moment for specific people or types of people to be around. I'm a pretty easy person to reach if someone wanted to reach me. But I don't really have anyone that I'm like looking forward to, like, because like even in this field, I would say like the only other guy who really does what I do, I would say, who's my competition at first. He actually lives here in Tampa, and he's an older guy and has kids, has a full job. Great guy. Met up with him for a drink or so, but he just doesn't have the same drive to like create something of it. He does it for fun. Like he's someone I can hang out with, grab a drink, whatever, but I wouldn't try to build something great, like build a business long term. So there's, I guess, I don't know. I don't really have anyone I would say that I'm looking for. Like the only person I really look to at the moment is Elon Musk and like Richard Branson. I like how they can do so many different things at the same time and still be successful. I know Elon's been struggling lately, but
yes, he has, my man. Yeah, he's under a lot of pressure. Dude, I'm glad that you mentioned that. But that's awesome. So it sounds like you have a lot of heroes, man. So Elon Musk, Richard Branson. Have you read Screw It, Let's Do It?
I have not.
You're gonna want to do that for sure. My next question was going to be, do you have any favorite authors that we can recommend to the listeners of books that have just kind of changed your life? So books have changed my life so much, and I think the listeners are probably sick and tired of me talking about books, but if they see that you went from where you were to where you are now, and by the way, this craft you have will take you into rooms, any rooms you want, man. Like the world is your oyster right now. What kind of books really shifted your mindset?
So I would say one of the first books that was Think and Grow Rich by Andrew Carnegie. Definitely one of the first books that kind of like shifted my mindset. The next book, like I would say I wasn't really a social person. Like in real life, I wouldn't really talk to people, but I would say that partying helped with that, the social interaction, but also How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was a really good book. I've definitely read that book like 3 or 4 times. Like one of the few books I've read multiple times.
Me as well, brother.
Think and Grow Rich is by Napoleon Hill, actually.
Yep. In your defense, Napoleon Hill was hired by Andrew Carnegie. So just so everyone knows.
Yeah. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm losing the name of the author. I believe it was
Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie.
Beautiful, amazing book, by the way. I've also read it like 10 times. So good, so good.
Yeah. Right now, I'm reading Outliers. I would just recommended you guys that.
We
earlier.
Appreciate that.
I'm only like halfway in, but it's really cool about like the circumstances that people are in, kind of like how you guys talk about the five people you surround yourself with, blah blah blah. They've heard it a million times, but that book kind of goes in depth into that, so they might enjoy that. The next book I would say I really enjoyed was Meditations. It's
Marcus Aurelius.
by Marcus Aurelius. He's like I guess he's could have been considered one of the richest men in the world, and like the last good king, I believe. He's like a stoic guy, and this book is like a publication of like his journals, which weren't actually meant to be published. And, someone who's at the top of the world and has everything. And, being able to read their mindset and things they go through and like the way they deal with things. And it was a really cool book. And then I guess The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clayson, really good book for like managing money. And then I also, whenever I try to get into something new and I try to get, be good at it, like when I started this page, I try to look into like companies that did really cool things when it came to art, visuals, and Pixar has always been a really good company that like I looked up to. So I got the book Creativity Inc. It's by one of the founders of that. They helped with like Star Wars and things like that. But he wrote this book Creativity Inc. and it's a really amazing book about their story. Really good about how managing people and like, just dealing with the everyday tasks of like that creative business. And that was a really great book. And I guess that was the last full book I've read. But
Love it.
Those are a couple books. Those are a couple books that have helped me along the way.
Well, Alan has talked about several of those, so I have heard of those as well. I haven't read all of them, but I'm Think and Grow Rich. I'm on right now, and there's a couple others I'm doing as well. But I wanted to ask you, so everybody sees the polished product. They see your page now. They see the final thing, right? What were the early?
No one understands.
Right. So can you help? So we always use the podcast as an example. Like, you only see what the camera sees, but you don't see behind the camera the hundreds of wires on the ground, the mess, the lights, the failures that we've had. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the failures that you've had with business, but the fact that like you kind of have to fail, Frederick, don't you? Don't you kind of have to screw up in order to figure out what's right?
Yeah, you got to develop like rhino skin. To be honest, you gotta be like pretty used to failing. Just like fail forward. Like honestly, like I rush towards failure as fast as possible to get it over with at this point. But yeah, like my previous businesses I started with video games. I don't do it currently. I wouldn't say I failed with it, but like it's not right at this time and moment. So like I can't spend time on that. So you could call that a waste of time or you call it a stepping stone. Like my next business with the marketing failed. That didn't make me want to stop doing that or stop trying to do business. I realized like I'm just getting started. I'm young, like I still have things to learn, which is why like personal development and like your income, I believe, correlate. Like as much as you fail, like if you keep learning and trying new things, you'll keep growing at the same time. And this page here, I started purely out of like boredom. And, at the beginning, I didn't have the intentions of, making money from it, growing a page. I strictly did it because like, hey, I was bored. This is cool. I'm going to post it. And I started seeing the response I get from people. And, I kept going. But really, from this page, it's really just putting in the time to like perfect my niche and my craft and like how I do it and just performing and like slowly adding new skills onto it. Like I get good at one thing and then I add another thing onto it. That's something I really learned from doing the art stuff. Like in my business, I tried to be the guy that did every single thing, but on this, I've kind of focused on one thing at a time and added as I've gone. So just to build it from there. And, now I'm at a point where I'm like have an assistant now. It's weird. She's DMing companies for me. But I guess like for this page, I wouldn't say I've ran into many failures. It's more so just like mental blocks. Like I want to do so much with it, but there's only one of me and like I don't have time. And I get overwhelmed and I don't want to post or, things like that. Companies or clients try to mess you over, stuff like that, but you can't be vengeful and hold on to things like that. I'm like, I'm like, I don't really hold on to grudges at all. Like, I'll sleep it off, and like the next day I'm fine. I'll keep going. Or if I'm frustrated with something, I'll sleep it off. I'll research how to get over it, and I'll keep going. Or I'll reach out to someone who knows what they're doing in that sector, and just keep going.
Keep going,
like,
man. I love it, dude. The fact that I love what Kevin and I looked at each other when you said the quote about personal development, because we're big into personal development, and we do believe that we're in this world, right? And we look around, we have our eyes open, we like to consider ourselves hyper-conscious, very aware human beings, and I do believe there are some people out there that just are not sold on the idea yet. As a matter of fact, Kevin and I learned this yesterday. We podcasted with Mariana, and Mariana Costa, this woman, and she said enthusiasm. The last 4 letters of enthusiasm is IASM. I am sold myself. So,
I like it.
Yeah, right? It's good shit, right? So I was so excited about that. And I feel like a lot of people are not enthusiastic about personal development yet, because they're not sold on the idea. So you said income will not far exceed personal development. That's a Jim Rohn quote. Kevin and I looked at each other. So Kevin and I have tried to get everyone on board with this whole personal development thing because it can change their life. That's really what this podcast is about.
Uh-oh.
Did Frederick just kick out?
We just lost Frederick.
All right, everyone. We just
Un
lost
momento,
Frederick.
por favor.
Un momento.
Yeah.
Are you back?
Sorry.
No worries, man.
No worries.
As long
brother.
as you didn't get struck by lightning down there, we'll be fine.
He hung up because my question was too long.
No, you're good.
So
I'm getting used to these headphones.
Oh yeah, that's right. The AirPods, man. Those will get you if you touch them the wrong way or something.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I don't think a lot of people are as enthused about personal development as you are. And when I see someone, you're 23 years old, you're killing it, you're passionate, you're living your dream, you found your thing with this art, it just gets me excited for possibilities. And Kevin and I are always trying to convince people of the value of personal development. What would you say to our listeners about personal development in terms of getting them really sold on the idea so they start to really do it?
Well, I wouldn't really I'm more so I could tell a story, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at my recent posts, you can kind of see different days between when I post. Usually, I will post every single day, but if there are periods of time where I don't post, inside info for you guys, it's usually because like something's going on either with me mentally, I'm not all there, or just business wise, but sometimes in those periods, like I'll be like, just don't have inspiration to go and do different things. Like even in real life, it doesn't matter, but like art or anything, like you don't want to wake up and go to work. You don't want to go to school, blah, blah, blah. But, during that time, like I'll read something of value that like tells me a story or gives me, like I'll read out chapters of Outliers or, step back and just like meditate. Reading for me is meditation for me, I would say. Like I'm not big on like Yumo Gwegi Fagi style, like legs crossed and stuff. I don't do that stuff, but reading for me is like development for me. And that like resets me and gets me going, gets me pumped, gets me fresh with new ideas to keep pushing. Because like if you always do what you're always done, you guys have heard it, you're always going to get what you've always got. So
Absolutely.
if you can live through someone else's life and learn through their mistakes and failures, like you'd be dumb not to take advantage of that. Like I think it's a no-brainer. Like I don't try to convince people to read. If I don't think you should either. It should be something that comes naturally. Like if you have the option to learn to basically get cheat codes or like a roadmap to avoid certain landmines in life, why wouldn't you take that opportunity? So I would let the listeners think about that. Why not?
Thank you, Frederick, for saying that. Yeah, if someone pours 40, 50, 60 years of their life experience into a book that you can read and you can take all that value, it's just tremendous. So I'm glad you said that. Thank you. And I think Kevin wants to ask you something.
Yes. So we're about to do an episode Monday. We're going to do a solo episode on why power. And why power, for those who don't know, why are you doing what you're doing? The people that are listening to this podcast will know my why power statement is to have the most successful podcast of all time, not just for a life of freedom myself, but so I can prove to millions of others that they can live whatever style of life they want to. What is your why power? Why do you want to have a super successful page? Why are you willing to put in the hours to make these next level pictures give them life? Like what is your why power?
Well, my why has just always evolved as this page has grown, and like now, my why would be completely different from when I started. But now I have a following and I have connections and I have tons of artists that I have pretty good relationships with. Like from my experience with working with other artists and companies, forming deals and things with them, with art, like it doesn't seem like a lot of artists on here have like that business mindset or they know how to monetize what they do. I kind of want to create like, this is something I've been thinking about for a while, like a music label, but like an artist label for like representing artists and like getting their art out there, distributing it for them and letting them create a cool income from it. Like I've been trying to make apps and all these different things, but I'm trying to get the funds for them at the same time. And I have a couple of investors I'm meeting with actually next week about stuff like that.
Congratulations,
But
Frederick. You're blowing. That's
yeah,
awesome. Congrats, man.
yeah. Now I wanna help other artists out as well. Like I work with so many different people, and from everything I've seen, like a lot of people don't even know how to create an invoice, stuff like that, and like they don't need to know how to do that. To be honest, if they can just do what they're good at, and if I can help them create income from that at the same time, why not? So like now that seems to be my main why at the moment, to help figure out a way to help other artists make money from it while they can just do what they do best. So.
Very, very cool, man. That's awesome. Just for the listeners, actors do this, right? Basically, the idea is talent agencies will be created to allow artists to focus on their craft. They're 10,000 hours into their thing, so they don't have to worry about business plans and invoices and all that kind of stuff. So you want to create basically a agency of sorts where you help artists monetize their passions so they can focus on what they want to focus on and get better at their craft and then bring their work to the world in a real sustainable way.
Yeah, seems like that's like from what I've learned, like when someone comes with different like background experiences into a completely different field, you can kind of disrupt it. You see it from a different perspective, and from like what I'm seeing, being in this and like having previous business experience, like a lot of these people don't know how to market themselves, and like I believe I could help them with that and make some money from it for them and everyone involved. So I'm at the moment, that's where I'm at. I'm trying to get all my ducks in order to go about doing that. But I also really like just getting the feedback from people. It's really cool to wake up in the morning and see great comments, or like how someone's monotonous days, I can save them like a minute. Just like I just take 30 seconds to like brighten their day or something. So it's really cool to start seeing stuff like that. It's starting to like be an income from this. It's like reaching my other businesses. So I'm starting to spend a lot more time on it. It's fun. It doesn't feel like work at all. So that's one of the main reasons this is going to be something I do for a while. So.
And Frederick, now's the time, man, because I was talking to Kevin about this on the car ride here earlier. With digital marketing, every business, I told him on the car ride here, every business on the face of the earth is going to have a website, and they're going to have next level content. And artists like you are going to need to learn how to monetize their work in the digital new platforms. Dude, with social media, this is kind of the last 10 to 20 years, kind of the first time that what you're talking about was even possible. So you're right on the front line of this thing, man. I'm so proud of you, so excited for you.
Perfect timing.
And I got to recommend a book to you personally, because I think this book will change your life, because you're right at the beginning of like the exponentials. I think one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make, by the way, and people in general, is they think linearly. I'm a math guy. I think exponentials all the time. Yeah. So The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Please write this down. I promise you will reach out to me and say, thank you so much for recommending that book.
It's funny because I bought the audiobook and I just haven't started it yet.
Now's the time, brother. I'm telling you.
I can vouch too. That was the first, Frederick, that was the first audiobook I ever listened to, was The Compound Effect. And it is mind-blowing how simple it seems, but it's just a crazy book. It blew my mind.
The concepts are super simple but insanely powerful, and it's simple concepts, but it's, as you know, difficult on the day-to-day to be consistent. We dissect successful people constantly on this podcast. The one thing you will always find when you pull back the curtain is one word: consistency.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. People, I get questions in my DMs like, all the time. Yo, can you shout me out? Or what's the secret? How do you grow your page? And that's the one word response I'll usually get.
Consistency. That is the word, man. I'm glad you said that. So speaking of that, we want to pull back the curtain. How long do these posts take you, brother?
So recently, I've like I said, I've been adding techniques and things as I've gone. But nowadays, some of them can take like hours plus to make, because I've been incorporating like 3D effects in them, or I might be actually on the phone or Skype calls talking with artists like, hey, can you change this part to look like this? Can we make this? Can we try this? So some of them take hours, or some of them can take like under an hour to create, So for the most part, I would say an hour or more.
I want to shout out to the listeners for you. You have a Udemy course out. I think I might have pronounced that wrong. Udemy. Is that how it's pronounced? Yeah, Udemy.
I do have a Udemy course.
So if you want to learn how to do these cool animations, you have a course that you created for people, right?
Yeah, I'm going to consistently be adding to it. It's hot and new. I got up a call with like the Udemy course. I wasn't even going to talk about this, but they called me a couple of days ago and they said like it's performing pretty well. So the content is good. You can check it out. It's like I got a pretty good URL, udemy.com/animation.
Nice.
I'm going to be consistently adding content to it. So you can go in there and you can check it out, and you can see initially how to start animating pictures. Super simple, very easy. Wouldn't take long to master. And eventually I'll start adding more advanced stuff like what I've been doing in my recent ones into it.
Hell yes.
It blows my mind what you do, because so Alan and I do the teaser clips that we have together, and we use Adobe Premiere, and like Frederick, I was doing 1 minute teaser clips, and at the beginning it took me 8 hours to do. I'm not even bullshitting, man. 8 hours, and then my computer crashed twice, so it took me 24 hours to do the first minute clip. But I will not be defeated, Frederick. I will not be defeated.
Now they only take you a half hour.
Keep going.
Now they're a half hour. They take me a half hour to do now.
Yeah, consistency.
That's pretty impressive. I've been working on the same computer I've been using for the last 3 or 4 years. So once I upgrade, I'm sure I can speed up my process and try even new things. Like right now, I'm not even using the best software to do pretty much anything. It's just. I guess people are really like my vision of like the images I use, the surrealness behind it. They're so simple. The concepts, like what I use to create them, but the concepts is what I guess has the greatest impact.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have like a favorite piece that you've created? We're looking at what would you call it?
The Grim Reaper next to the bridge.
No, that one. So like 3 or 4 times I've shouted out people who've done cool stuff. That one's not by me.
Oh, okay.
That guy's a pretty inspiration too, I guess, to artists. Like he started out with 13,000 followers, and he posted that. Like I posted that one on my page like 3 hours after he posted, because I thought it was sick. And then a week later, that guy was at like 500,000 followers.
Yeah, 529
from that single post.
My goodness.
Crazy.
Wow.
That's the power of social media now.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
This is literally the perfect time to be on social media.
That guy obviously read the Compound Effect. No, I'm just kidding. So what is your favorite?
Okay, so if you scroll down a little bit, there's like a lighthouse, and
that's my favorite.
That one, like right next to it, there's the one with the greenhouse. Those two, both of those, I would say are probably my favorite, because those two are reposts from like my early beginning of the page, and they took off. They really blew up and helped my page grow.
Dude, that lighthouse one, man. When I saw that, I was mind blown. I was blown. Every time you post something, I just stare at it like a fool. I stop whatever I'm doing. I just stand there with my mouth open and stare at my phone.
Like I try to trick people sometimes. Like I'll say, like if it's an artist that I collaborated with, I'll say like they're the photographer, and like people freak out, like no way, this is real, or it'll pop up on like some other page. And I love saying like people saying it's real when it's not real.
Yeah,
like, I like people. I want people to question what they see. I want to make it look as real as possible. I love those types of concepts.
So when
one and the run next to it are my favorite. When
people reach out to you, I know you said you have people that reach out and they, you made my day, or I was in a terrible mood and you completely changed my mood. Can you? So I literally sometimes I just cry when I get messages from people, or when I'm able to help somebody, or when somebody trusts me enough to take my advice. Like I literally cry because I'm so grateful that I've been given this opportunity to help. Can you explain? I'll use us as an example. When I get those messages, that's why I'm willing to do what I'm willing to do. Like there's nothing I'm not willing to do to podcast. We drove an hour and a half to the Cape yesterday. We drove 6 hours to New Jersey a couple months ago. We're flying down to Florida in 2 weeks. We're flying out to Arizona. Like there's nothing I won't do because the feeling that I get from helping is unlike anything I've ever felt before. So is there a little bit of motivation that you're helping other people? Does that like give you a little extra push?
That definitely helps me a lot. I wouldn't say it invokes crazy emotion for me, but like that only because like I know I could be doing so much more. I know I have like the network and potential possibilities like within the next coming weeks, months, just time will tell, but I can create something even greater to help even more people. So it definitely reaffirms what I'm doing when I see stuff like that.
Hell yeah, man.
So there's a question that I ask every guest. Alan has his. I'll ask mine first because Alan's going through your page right now with his mouth open. He's drooling all over the notebook. What do you hope to accomplish before you die? Like I said, we're going deep here, so go as deep as you want.
Well, I guess one of my big thing business-wise, I want to take a company public. I don't know. That's just always been something in my mind. But I also want to just take care of my family. I don't want to have to worry about money. I don't want to have to go to a restaurant and like look at the price tag on the right side of the menu whenever I order, stuff like that, because like I work hard for all this stuff and all my businesses. Like I barely sleep to get this stuff done. But I want to be able to travel. Really, I want to be able to see the world like within my life. But leaving behind, I want people, I guess, to just know, like, to just never give up, to like just keep pushing. I know you said before we spoke, you had dark times where you thought about committing suicide.
Several.
I guess I've had one moment like that in my life where like I should have graduated at this time, but I didn't. So I just put my head down on my steering wheel and floored it. And someone's like literally like I was in my little new Jetta and like I floored it on the highway, and then like sometimes like just don't do that. And I just put my gas in the brake, and like literally as I like stop, like I just tapped the back of his car, and like these ladies hop out, and I just like dip in the car and just like pull into a parking garage and just like sat there for hours, just like what am I doing? But if I did in my life, like I wouldn't be helping people now. Just everyone can live through your journey or something. So I'd want to be able to just like let people know, just stay strong, keep pushing. You might help somebody else with your story. So
I love it, and thank you for sharing that with us, my man.
Frederick, you're helping everybody on this podcast right now. Just that was so deep, man. I appreciate that very much. So I have so many questions that I want to ask you. I know we're running out of time here, so I will ask you the one that I ask every guest. So I believe there's a part of us that remains consistent. I wear a star around my neck. It's the North Star, unwavering, constant. I believe the deepest part of us is the part of us that never changed. What part of you never changed?
I'm literally the same guy. Like, really nothing has changed. Like, I feel like even if I do have all the money in the world and I can travel, I'll still be having sleepless nights where I'm always wanting to do more, and help more. I guess like really, I'm the same guy. Like, I just feel like I've stayed humble. I don't brag about this stuff really. But I'm just having fun with it. Like, I have fun with everything I do. If I'm not having fun, I guess that's really the biggest thing. If I'm not having fun, I will not do it. Like, I've had like three jobs in my life. And Hollister, I worked there for 3 weeks. Absolute torture. Hated the clothes. Was not fun. Just told them I was taking vacation, never came back. Next job, counting cars. That's actually a job. Told them I was going to Vegas, never came back. So, like, if I'm not having fun with it, I won't be doing it. And nowadays, if I didn't create it, I won't be doing it. So, I don't know. I'd like to. I mean, that's just me.
So now I know if you say, "Hey, I got to run to the bathroom real quick," you're not coming back, most likely. You're just gonna keep on running.
No, now I'm on a different path now.
No, like, I'm just teasing, man.
Did you just say if I don't create it, I'm not doing it? Is that what you
I
said?
want to.
I love that, man. No,
I
that was very
want to
cool.
work for myself. I want to work for myself for the
man.
most
Hell
part.
yeah.
For you. Well, we're heading into an era. The entrepreneurial revolution is upon us, my man. You are onto something big. I'm so glad you're so driven. And dude, I'm blown away. You're definitely helping a lot of people. And if you continue to do that, I like that we were able to bring you on the podcast. So Kevin, thank you for bringing him on because your page is so awesome. And
Thanks.
like to figure out the person behind the page is just everything.
Right? This was everything, Frederick. This was
Unexpected.
everything I wanted, my man. Like, this is exactly what I wanted. I want people to look at your page and be like, wow, it's just unique. I've never, ever seen anything like it, ever. So being able to pick your brain and hear these stories and hear these experiences and hear your mindset and hear that you're into personal development, I think every single person we've ever had on has been into personal development.
Yep.
So I think people are going to realize, like, if you're not stretching your mind a little bit, you may be living below your potential. Whether or not you choose to get into personal development, that's your call. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I will not pressure you to do so. But if you want better, yeah, Alan will. But if you want better, I think you have to stretch your mind. Just like if you want better, you want a better body, you have to stretch your limits in the gym.
The information is out there. Like, literally, I learned more from YouTube than I have, going to college for 3 years. But if you want it, you can get it. Like, just Google, honestly.
I love it. I love it. All right, so you want to ask another?
I was going to just say just one more thing real quick. Darren Hardy said this. He said back before the 21st century, before the internet, the difference maker was knowledge. Knowledge is power. Now the knowledge is at our fingertips. Google, all that. Now the difference is conduct, behavior, habits. I think personal development is everything. I'm so glad that you're into personal development. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'm not surprised, by the way. Your work is next level, man. Keep it up.
Frederick, plug your stuff. Where can people find you? I know we said your Instagram, but say your Instagram, say your website, say everything where they can find you.
So if you guys can find me on Instagram, Frederick D. Barnes, FrederickDBarnes. And from there, I'll have links to anything important that I'm working on or doing. In the link in my bio, you can even sign up for a newsletter where I don't even use it currently, but as soon as cool stuff come out, you can follow along with me. But for the most part, just follow me there. Just keep up to date. If you're interested in the course, I'll have that link on my Instagram as well. But yeah, guys, thank you for having me on. This is really cool. Not many people get to see the man behind the avatar. So
well,
it's cool.
We appreciate you coming on so much, and I know you said this was your first. You did a great job. I appreciate you answering, especially the deep questions and going deep there with us because, Frederick, a lot of people have those dark times and a lot of people are too afraid to talk about them. And one thing that I promised everybody when I started this is there is nothing that I will shy away from. I don't care. I will tell everybody about my failures. I'll tell everybody about my dark days. Everybody gets to see the bright times too, but they weren't always that way. So I want people to know that. And I'm super glad and super grateful that you shared that with us, my man.
Thank you. And your listeners are blessed. You're an open book, and you're genuinely. I know you're gonna go far. You might be the next Joe Rogan.
Hey, I appreciate that.
He might have you on his podcast one day.
I appreciate that, man. Well, we next time we're down in Florida, we'll have to link up, and we'll
for sure.
We'll meet up, grab a bite or something.
So just so you know, Frederick, we're going to be in Florida next week, or no, the 16th. We already checked. It's a 10-hour drive, so we're going to have to probably miss you this time because we got 3 other podcasts down there. But, dude, we're definitely going to be linked up in the future. Keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Sounds good.
Ladies and gents.
Talking to you guys. I'll see you around.
Awesome, man. Ladies and gents, we hope you enjoyed listening to this as much as we did recording it. Frederick, you're next level. And thank you again for coming on. And I hope you have a great weekend and keep creating that next level art.
Talk to you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening to another episode of the Hyper Conscious Podcast.
Going hyper-conscious will absolutely change your life because if you understand why something is the way it is, now you have the power to change it. If you going hyper-conscious with us has changed your life in any way, please share this episode with one of your friends because the more people that go hyper-conscious, the better this world's going to be for everybody.
And if you would kindly leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, that would help us make more people hyper-conscious, and we would be greatly appreciative.
Thank you.
Bye.